You're not falling apart. That's what makes this so confusing. Your life isn't a disaster. There's no obvious crisis, no dramatic collapse, no single thing you can point to and say, that's the reason I feel like this. From the outside, you look stable, functional, even successful. But inside, there's a quiet disconnect, not pain, not sadness, something stranger. A dull distance from your own life, like you're watching yourself live it, like you're present, but not fully inside. And you've tried to explain it away. You tell yourself you're tired, or stressed, or that this is normal. That adulthood is just managing responsibilities until you get a break. That logic works until one day it doesn't, until you catch yourself smiling at something and feeling nothing behind it, until you realize you've been fine for so long that you forgot what alive feels like. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A life can be stable and still be wrong for your soul. And Carl Jung would say, the reason it feels wrong is not because you're broken. It's because something inside you is trying to reach you, and you've been trained to ignore it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your life can look correct and still feel empty, how the unconscious communicates, and why the longer you ignore it, the louder it becomes. But I have to warn you, this isn't comforting. Because if you can hear it, you can't pretend you didn't. Most people think self-knowledge means knowing what you think, your opinions, your plans, your beliefs, your personality. Jung would call that a beginner's mistake, because the part of you that speaks in thoughts is only the surface layer, a thin, bright island floating on a much larger ocean. And that ocean is not random. It contains everything you had to push down in order to become acceptable. The anger you learned to call immature, the desires you learned to call unrealistic, the instincts you learned to call dangerous, the truth you learned to call too much. So you became skilled at control. You became the person who keeps it together, who makes smart decisions, who doesn't cause problems, who is reasonable, and your life rewarded that version of you. But your psyche didn't. Because the unconscious doesn't disappear just because you stop listening. It simply moves underground, and it starts influencing your life indirectly. You don't choose the same kind of emotionally unavailable partner by accident. You don't keep sabotaging progress at the same stage by accident. You don't feel empty on Sundays by accident. You don't feel anxious around certain people for no reason. Jung's point is brutal. If you don't listen to the unconscious, it doesn't stop working. It just starts working without your permission. And you call it mood. You call it bad luck. You call it personality. You call it, I don't know why I'm like this. But it's not a mystery. It's a message. So the real question becomes, how does the unconscious speak? Because it does speak. Constantly. Just not in words. The unconscious does not send you clear instructions. It doesn't say, here is what you need. Here is what you're avoiding. Here is the lie you're living. It speaks in a different language, a symbolic one. It speaks through dreams you forget in 10 seconds, but feel in your body all day. It speaks through the sudden tightness in your chest when someone says something harmless. It speaks through the repeating pattern you swear you'll stop repeating. It speaks through attraction that makes no sense, through irritation that feels too strong, through fatigue that arrives after doing nothing physical. Jung believed dreams were the most honest channel, not because they predict the future, but because they reveal what your conscious mind refuses to admit. In dreams, you're not performing. You're not managing your image. You're not being reasonable. So the psyche shows you what you won't look at directly. And when dreams are ignored, the unconscious gets louder through other means. Your body, your emotions, your compulsions. Because if your mind won't listen, your nervous system will carry the message instead. And that's where the danger begins. Because most people only take the unconscious seriously once it starts breaking something. This is the pattern Jung saw again and again. First, the unconscious whispers. A subtle dissatisfaction, a quiet dread, a strange sense of this isn't it. Then it speaks louder. Anxiety that appears with no obvious trigger. A loss of motivation that doesn't respond to rest. A numbness that makes everything feel gray. And if you keep pushing it down, eventually it escalates. Not to punish you, but because it has to. The unconscious doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to correct your direction. Sometimes depression isn't sadness. It's disconnection. It's the psyche pulling energy away from a life path that is no longer aligned. Sometimes burnout isn't too much work. It's too much betrayal. Too much time spent being a version of yourself that earns approval but costs you your inner truth. And here's the hardest part. You can be extremely intelligent and still be completely out of contact with yourself. In fact, the smarter you are, the better you become at rationalizing the wrong life. You build a story that sounds mature, responsible, logical, and your unconscious keeps replying with the same feeling, this isn't you. So what do? You don't need a new productivity system. You need a new relationship with your inner world. And Jung actually gave practical ways to begin. If you want to reopen the dialogue, start here. Track what repeatedly pulls your attention. The same dream theme, the same fear, the same fantasy, the same, I can't stop thinking about this. Repetition is not random, it's insistence. Watch your strongest emotional reactions. The people who irritate you too much. The moments that make you feel small. The situations that trigger shame. That intensity is a clue. It's pointing to something unresolved in you. Listen to the body as if it's telling the truth, because it is. Ask, when does my body tighten? Who drains me? What situations make me tired for no rational reason? Right before you explain, before you rationalize, before you turn it into a story, write what you actually feel. Not what sounds correct, what's real. Because the unconscious responds to honesty, not performance. And yes, this is uncomfortable. Because the moment you truly listen, you can't keep living the same way without feeling the cost. That's why most people avoid it. But avoiding it is not peace, it's delay. Here's where this lands. You are not empty because your life isn't good enough. You're empty because you're living too far from yourself. And the unconscious is not your enemy. It's not chaos. It's not darkness for the sake of darkness. It's intelligence. It's the deeper part of you that knows what you actually need, what you actually value, what you actually are. Jung called the path back to that wholeness individuation. Not becoming better, becoming whole. Integrating what you've disowned, reclaiming what you buried, stopping the quiet lifelong habit of abandoning yourself for approval. So if this video hit a nerve, don't rush past it. Tonight, notice what you're avoiding. Notice what you keep dismissing. Notice what your inner world keeps repeating, because the message has been there for a long time. The only real question is, are you ready to stop pretending you can't hear it? If you want to go deeper into this work, subscribe. This channel is for people who are done living on the surface. And tell me in the comments, what's the quiet hum you've been trying to ignore?